National Park Service was created in 1916 with the passage of the Organic Act. And the National Park Service was set aside especially to conserve the scenery and the natural places and cultural places and the wildlife, and preserve and protect these areas for future generations. The National Park Service has nearly 400 parks. These parks are in every state with the exception of Delaware. In addition to these states, there's Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa. These parks represent a combination of things, including national parks, national preserves, battlefields, seashores, lake shores, and other special places set aside for the enjoyment of the American people.
A vital component of the National Park Service is the National Resource Program Center, with offices in Fort Collins and Denver, Colorado.
The Natural Resource Program Center is set up to provide leadership, expertise, and science-based solutions to help manage the natural resources of the National Park Service. Whatever we do in terms of park management, the bottom line is to protect the integrity of the national park and make sure there's nothing that we do that causes an impairment. We need to take into account visitor experience, visitor perceptions, and things of that nature. And also we do balance some development. I mean, we build roads, we build visitors facilities. We want to do that in a way that minimizes the impact and has a good likelihood of being acceptable to the visitor, acceptable to the environment, and sustainable over the long run. We are the voice of the natural resources and saying that in order to do that in a sustainable fashion, these are the mitigating factors, these are the things that we need to do, these are the things we need to take into account to minimize the impact of that and assure that the natural resource processes are not irrevocably harmed. We use statistics a great deal in, say, air quality modeling, monitoring the effects of air pollution across parks and looking at the different the ozone concentration or nitrogen deposition or things like that. We utilize statistics to measure visitor enjoyment, visitor satisfaction, and visitor experience, and try to compare, what does a first-time visitor think of the parks versus a 10th-time visitor, and so forth.
Statistics is really important in how we develop policies in the National Park Service because we're required to analyze the costs and the benefits of those regulatory actions and the people that will be affected by those regulatory actions. We do not set a policy for the National Park Service, but what we do provide is objective information so that the policymakers can see what visitor groups are affected, what members of the public are affected by certain regulatory actions.
An issue that policymakers asked the Natural Resource Program Center to study was the use of snowmobiles in Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks. The Program Center, in conjunction with RTI International, an independent, non-profit research institute, conducted a winter visitor survey that examined the recreational use of the parks as well as seasonal trips by snowmobilers and other park visitors.
The Yellowstone Winter Use Study was conducted to be able to provide an analysis of the costs and benefits associated with regulatory actions that manage winter use at Yellowstone as well as Grand Teton National Parks. The questions that we were trying to answer were related to what visitor groups would be affected by the regulatory alternatives that we were considering.
One of the great things about doing a survey is that if you do it correctly and you do the sampling plan correctly, you can take the answers from a small group of people and generalize them to a much larger population. So you don't actually have to ask every single person in the country. You have to ask a representative sample, and when you do that, you can generalize their responses to the rest of the country. There are two steps to designing the survey. One is designing the actual survey instrument. So to do that, we worked with the park staff and developed a set of questions and then tested those questions in focus groups and in one-on-one interviews. The second part of developing the survey is developing the administration plan, how we're going to sample, how the survey will be administered.